Salutations, one and all, and welcome to RWBY Recapped. Episode 2 of Volume 9 has just dropped, so if you haven't seen it yet, go do that, as there are spoilers ahead. You have been warned. Right, so now that that obligation's out of the way, let's see what there is to be seen here. We kick off with Weiss claiming that it's impossible for them to be in a fairy tale, but you're looking out at a landscape that can't exist under normal circumstances, by which you arrived through a means that shouldn't exist. A fairy tale is the least strange thing here. Yang then explains that her arm was stolen by a talking raccoon riding on a purple wagon filled with trash. This prompts Blake to claim that they're in the story of the girl who fell through the world. Other characters then respond to this by saying that they've all read said story. But there's just one problem. We, the audience, haven't. Now I know people are going to cite Alice in Wonderland, but 1, that's a different work completely separate from RWBY, and 2, having to go outside of a work to understand it is a major flaw, because if knowledge of the media you're in requires having consumed something completely different, then you alienate those who haven't consumed said other thing. Blake then tells us about this person by the name of Alex, who she claims arrived to this place by falling from the sky like they did. How? Your circumstances required setup that would be impossible by other means. How would someone else have ended up here? Also, a story like this would imply that someone reached this place and returned to tell the tale. Stories from survivors don't happen with no survivors. Little asks if Alex is a purpose, thus confirming the naming convention of these beings. Yang also continues on with the events that happened to this Alex person, citing a Jabberwocker, whatever that is, and beating a Red King at a board game. Some explanation of who or what these are would be appreciated, as right now they exist in a vacuum. Little then mentions that the raccoon is probably the Jinxie Peddler, and volunteers to show them to a town, but then promptly falls asleep again. Do you have narcolepsy? Blake then mentions that Alex caused a war among the townsfolk in the story because she didn't know their customs. If it's that easy for them to fight each other, then they were a ticking time bomb from the start. Yang then claims that Alex lied and cheated her way through the story, so I suppose if we meet this person, then she's not exactly one to be trusted. Little then seems flabbergasted that the peddler would steal, claiming that he just takes things that they aren't looking at. The morality system and logic of this land is completely warped. We also get some Yang and Blake stuff. Some people love this stuff, others hate it, but it doesn't affect me one way or the other. Weiss then has a moment that I have mixed feelings about. She says that there's no home for her to go back to, and has some lines like, "We hatched a plan that put a kingdom at risk," and "Maybe Jean and Winter were able to get them out despite us." Just saying, Weiss, nobody had a plan. All Ironwood was going to do was stall until Salem found a way to reach Atlas, or everyone died from their supplies running out. At least you guys were doing something. People have been losing it since Volume 8 about Ruby's plan, but so many of these objections are half-baked. Atlas was doomed from the moment Salem showed up with Monstro. Trying to get the citizens of Atlas and Mantle away from that was about the only thing you could have realistically done. They then come to a bridge, and Little doesn't know what's across it, claiming to have never been there. What good are you then? They then arrive at a town with board game pieces as the populace, and that's just a crate of I don't want. The way they move is unsettling. We also see a sign claiming that there is some sort of royal birthday party, and another strange thing is that nobody reacts to the obviously alien humans and Faunus walking around their town. They then locate this Jinxie Peddler, and Yang wants to beat him up and take her arm back. If you saw your arm, then I would agree 100%, but right now you can't confirm that this is the same individual, or that your arm is here. The peddler then begins to auction off 3 items, and Blake informs us that there is no currency used here, just an abstract form of bartering. The items are also disguised as other items to make them appear to be more valuable. She then asks Yang what her heart tells her about which item she believes is her arm, and Yang claims that it's the golden scepter. I thought that was a bait and switch, suspecting the marionette puppet thing, as it more mimics how a prosthetic would move. The first item is sold for a hug. Little claims that those are valuable. Tell me about it. Yang then tries to bid for the scepter, but is outbid by the guards, who look like weird nutcracker things. They also completely avoid paying the knowing what it is to feel loved. They just put a blank check, which should completely backfire on them. RWBY then bids on the marionette, and the cost is enough hope to fill this jar. You can't fill a jar with an emotional concept. But Little then steals the puppet, and all of the items revert to their actual forms. Horrifyingly, the figure that was first bid was actually a living mouse. That's disturbing. The puppet was one of Penny's blades, showing us that items created with maiden powers persist after that maiden's death. Yang's arm was the scepter, however, and the guard throws it away in fear. Yang tries to take it back, and let it be known that the guard attacks her first. She responds by shooting him, but it doesn't seem to do anything other than knocking him away. The group then make their escape while the crowd confronts the peddler, and we get a glimpse of the cheery, optimistic Yang that we lost in Volume 3. She offers high fives with her prosthetic arm, and that was such a relief from the sour Yang we've had for years now. I understand if she never got back to 100% how she was before, but she should have regained more of her previous personality by now. RWBY then says that she was drawn to the sword, and as she despairs, it rains again. For some reason, the weather only seems to respond to RWBY. Why that is, I can't even begin to guess. Weiss then wants to go to the tree, but she encounters the stuck-in-one-place phenomenon that RWBY encountered earlier. It would seem that this happens whenever one's objective is the tree. The guards then show up again, confirming that it's raining because someone is sad. Yang then wants to fight them, and I completely agree. They attacked you first and tried to steal your property. Go for it. RWBY then makes them a counter-offer, giving up Penny's sword in place of the arm, claiming that Penny was a hero that gave her life for thousands. Fair enough. Penny was too good for this world. The guards then start crying, and wow, they're pathetic. They remind me of the Argus soldiers. Unfortunately, I'm afraid that we're going to get into some melodrama this season, as RWBY claims that they should stop pretending to know what we're doing. That was stupid when Ren said it, and it's stupid here. Nobody had a plan in Volume 8. At least you guys were trying to save people. I really hope that we get this brooding RWBY out of the way soon, because this sort of thing could go very poorly very quickly. We took a step forward with Yang, but we took a step back with RWBY and Weiss being all dejected about Volume 8. Newsflash, it's not like you guys had many other options. And that's where the episode ends. This place that they're in seems to have its own rules that defy physics, or maybe even a lack of structure for rules to follow, which isn't something I'm particularly fond of, but we'll see where this goes. I once tried to watch Alice in Wonderland, but I only got about 10 minutes in before my brain began trying to delete itself from the lack of sense. But these are just my observations. What are yours? Do you like where this new volume is going? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and if you liked this video, then feel free to hit the like button if you're so inclined, and subscribe to see more. And may you all have a weapon in each hand.